Hello and welcome to a VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony Pica, and this show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. So, it is good to be back doing the show. I wanted to take this episode and kind of talk about the state of affairs. You know, I started this podcast. It's almost been 2 years. In March, it'll be 2 years ago that I started this podcast. And, you know, the whole point of the podcast was exactly what I say, and that's to help other voiceover artists grow their business. And it was also to chronicle my business and my journey so that other people could relate and, you know, see what was happening. And I think that I did a big part of this because I wanted to, you know, I wanted to put something out there that wasn't from someone who was super successful and, you know, had done all of this stuff, right? And I think as we go along in our businesses, you know what I mean, we gain success or we gain knowledge and things change. But, you know, I think that it's important to continue this podcast the way it was originally set up, and that was to chronicle where I am and what's happening in my business, and that way it helps you with your business. So anyways, today we're going to be talking about what's happening in my business, what money is coming in, where is it coming from, what's happening, what's not happening, and maybe the future of a VO's journey, Anthony Pica, etc., etc. All right, let's do it.
This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica.
All right, so we're talking about all that jazz. You know, I think, I know that, you know, whenever we begin a new year, we always have thoughts about the future and, you know, what we accomplished last year, what we may not have accomplished, and what we want to do to change our stars. And, you know, I think for me, it's one of those situations where things turned out really well last year in 2019. You know, after all the numbers came in, you know, I made more money last year than I've ever made in my entire life. In fact, I made more money last year than it took me a couple of years to make in my previous vocations. So I'm very blessed and happy about that. Moving forward, I think that we all have fears. I don't know why I'm saying I think a lot, but I know we all have fears. And of course, one of my fears, and I know it's on all of our minds, but it is on my mind, you know, can you keep it up? Can I keep it up? Will the business continue to come in? Will it, you know, continue to come through the channels that I have set up? And that's always a question, and that's always a thought. And, you know, so, you know, right now, January is a slow month for me. It has been. And I know a slow month for me is might not be slow for other people. But, you know, for example, you know, as many of you know, Fiverr is one of the main places that I get business from. And, you know, I have had a great deal of search volume. But what I'm noticing is, and I think everybody's in the same boat as we are, you know, January is a month that we try to refocus, restructure, look at our budget and say, whoa, we spent way too much in December. We need to pull back some. I think this happens to all of us. So for, you know, business wise, voiceovers, they've been coming in, but they're not coming in at the speed and the amount that they did, of course, last quarter. And now we're just, what is this? It's the 8th of January. And I think that, you know, it's one of those things for me that it's new in the sense that I have not gone through this part of January as a full-time voiceover artist. last January, I was still working, and I look back at the numbers that I had last January, and I've pretty much already met those numbers I made last January. I've already made that this month. So I know that that's better than I'm going to do better this month than I did previously last January. So that's a good thing. But it does worry me a little bit that there's not as much business, whereas this time, usually the numbers that I have made and up to this point, I'm about at 50% of that numbers from from Fiverr. So, Fiverr business is coming in about half of the amount that it did in December. So I mean, that's a lot. And now I don't know what's happening with other voiceover artists. I just know that that's what's happening in my business. And I'm sure, just like I said, it's cyclical, but it does worry somebody. It worries you. It makes you think about, is your situation what you want it to be? And is it going the way you want it to go? Many of you know, too, that I do courses, and I've laid out an entire thing. So another place that I'm going in my business is, I've laid out an entire course book, if you will, about all the courses that we could possibly ever need as a voiceover artist. I think that out there, I know for me, and I've searched for them, there are definitely lots of stuff out there that you can take and you can learn. But when it comes to a comprehensive from beginning to end type of coursework, and I mean like everything, from all kinds of different gear and stuff, I've never seen something that comprehensive. And a big reason for it is because there's lots of money. There's so many different things out there. It's really hard to go into depth into microphones and interfaces and DAWs and all of these different things as one person, because there's so many different ones. And then you have to either learn that or figure out where you can get that from. So, I've put this whole thing together. It's always been a dream of mine to have that kind of one-stop shop for people. So I'm definitely looking at this, but this is it's a long-term plan. It's not something that will happen overnight. And, because we're talking about, I don't know, over 100 different types of courses and things that is in my brain, right? And so that's something that I've definitely looked forward to. But here's the thing, and I know this is for me particularly. As I'm building this business, there comes all of these different ways to make money online. And I think it's very simple for us to get going down a rabbit hole, even when that rabbit hole does seem profitable, right? It can be very challenging to stay on task or to remember where bread and butter, where money where you got money from in the beginning. So, I wanted to tell you guys some things too about like what I'm doing now and what I'm not doing. So, it has been a pretty long time. It's been months since I have done an audiobook through ACX. And the other day I had someone contact me through ACX. And quite honestly, the biggest reason that I've not gone on to ACX to actually do some work is just because I've been busy enough to where I didn't need to. And, that has been my thing. But, I started on ACX. I feel very comfortable on that platform. I understand the platform. And I always felt that if I needed to get business, I could go to ACX and get business. But someone contacted me the other day, and they had found my voice, and they wanted to for me to audition, and I did, and they are going through that now. But it's interesting to me that is something that I stopped doing, and I know why I stopped doing it a while ago, because like for example, and I'm just shooting off to you guys about thoughts in the past and why things happen. So if you're still listening, thank you. You might be like, oh, here he goes again. But anyways, people might wonder, because I wonder it myself sometimes. People might wonder, well, you talk a lot about ACX and you talk about being successful on ACX, but yet you don't do ACX anymore. So why is that if you were so successful? Because that's a question I would ask. And I think the reason why, or I know the reason why I ended up getting away from it was because I got burnt out. I got burnt out from doing so many audiobooks. I mean, it was at a point where I had 6 to 9 audiobooks constantly going at one time. That's the way my life was for a period of time. It was exhausting to have, I mean, to have that many audiobooks. And here, this is something that, we have this price battle, this price war going on right now when everybody's talking about prices again, and the new year comes up, and it's always in the forefront of all of our minds. What price should you charge? And I think that it is, well, I know that it is, prices can also have an effect with the amount of work at one time you can get. So I know for me, it was prices being not as maybe expensive as other people charged. I had a ridiculous amount of work that was just on my plate. And if you're doing audiobooks, they're not quick. It takes time. So when you have all of these audiobooks, it can really get exhausting. And for me, I got burnt out. And there was other parts of my business that were starting to take off. So, that was easy for me to kind of shy away from doing ACX as much anymore and get work other places. And the thing is that since I was getting so many audiobooks from Fiverr, I mean, I had like 5 audiobooks, 6 audiobooks at one time going through Fiverr, in a month. It was a lot. It was really boosting my Fiverr account at the time, and that was great. So what was happening is because of that, I was starting to get more and more traffic for commercial work, and all that was going through my audiobook gig. So, then I transitioned over to trying to move it towards my my American Male voiceover and so forth. And then I finally hit to be top rated seller status. And then from that's when I transitioned over to just really trying to do commercial work. Because the thing with commercial work is that it's nice if it's steady, because it's great money, right? It's quick, it's great money, and you get a lot of the accolades of doing cool videos and things like that. But if it does not come in steady, it can be a real challenge, because you're searching for that, quick fix, if you will, right? That quick money, because it can be that way. So for me, especially now, I've definitely wondered about what, the thing is I still do audiobooks, because people still come to me, and I'm actually working on 2 right now. But they've come from me now through referrals or people who have worked with me for a while, like from the beginning, for since I started, and they still come to me to do audiobooks, and they pay me the rate that I like, and we work together well. So I'm still doing audiobooks, but I'm not doing them anywhere near where I used to. But I wonder, last month I sold 591 audiobooks on ACX, through royalties. And I'm telling you, I really do believe to me, the pure residual income, right? Royalties is by far one of the best ways to get residual income. And, these books, they sell great. It can be, of course, the challenge is finding books that sell really well. But if you take a step back again and you look, I really do believe in it. It's being able to, let me be honest with you, it's being able to stomach the I don't want to use the word drudgery, but if you have done audiobooks and have done them in a manner in which you are doing them and grinding out audiobooks for financial reasons as well, it can be exhausting. So to me, it was very exhausting, but there's a part of me that misses that work, because in commercial work, once we do it, pretty much, especially through Fiverr, it's gone. It's gone forever. You don't see it. Yeah, they can send you a video and you might have that, but it's not the same also as doing an audiobook where you have that tangible thing. You can see it out there. People can see it. You know, your name is attached to it. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Our name isn't attached to these smaller voiceovers, but they're attached to audiobooks. And you know, and I talked about not wanting to be famous, and that's absolutely true. But it's still nice. It's still nice to have that. So I do miss part of that. And it does make me think that I have a little bit of fire in me left to go back and do some more audiobooks, because I do enjoy having that in my portfolio of things to offer. When it comes to auditioning, I have not been doing much auditioning because, again, I didn't need to. And it's now going back to the thing where I have, you know, there's auditions keep coming in through like the Voice Realm, which I am on. I did not re-up my subscription to Voice 123. If anything, I'd want to probably join voices.com. I know everybody's got different takes on all of these things, but, you know, I tried Voice 123 for a year and I was not pleased. Through an entire year, I might have made, you know, I never ended up making the money back that I spent to be on that platform. And I'm not saying that I auditioned as much as I should, but I definitely auditioned probably like, I would say I did at least a couple hundred auditions. And to me, I would have liked to see a lot more return on that. But I would like to say this, and I think this is something I was talking to Miles Chacoin the other day, and you know, we were talking about just the sheer number of people that are on platforms like Fiverr, but like voices.com or Voice 123 or the Voice Realm, and just these places that have big rosters, big lots of people on there, you know. And if you think about it, if you take how many jobs that come into these places and then the amount of voiceover artists on there, to get like a lot of steady work and to make a lot of money, I mean, you have to beat out a lot of people. I mean, it's a real challenge, because you got to think, even if these platforms, I know voices.com says they do like 5,000 orders or so a month, you know what I mean? And if you think about how many people, hundreds of thousands of voice actors, right, are on voices.com, and then you just think about that, how many of those are repeat business for voice actors who are on there. That's not a lot to go around, right? I mean, it's not a lot of work to go around on that platform. And then, you know, people like me come around and I'm like, well, you know, I'm just not that successful. I got a couple jobs, but that's not, you know, that's it. And the thing is that's probably being successful on those platforms, sadly. You know, I mean, because that's where it is. So in order to be super successful on the platforms, even on Fiverr, I'm just going to be honest with you. We've got to be able to go above and beyond the competition. We've got to beat them out on professionalism, on business, on, you know, all kinds of stuff. Someone's calling me. It's like one of those, I constantly get these calls, people trying to sell me insurance. I don't know if that happens to you guys. Anyways, I don't know what the deal is. I have insurance, but people call about the insurance. So anyway, I switched topics. So, where was I? I was talking about, yeah. So so the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, there's so many things going on. So I stopped auditioning, you know, and that was something that I didn't need to do. But, you know, it is always something that you can go back to. And I'm looking to go back into doing some auditioning too, because I have the time to. But I'm also trying to build out this coursework that I would like to do, because it's something that I love to do. It's a passion of mine to have courses out there, to be able for people to find, easily access information that's been so difficult for me to find and to curate and to learn, and through all the trials and errors, all the mistakes, all the ridiculous amounts of money that I've spent on trying to learn these things and failing, because trying this product over here, trying that product over there, buying that piece of software, buying this piece of hardware, doing all these things. And then, you know, after a while, you finally learn them. But it would be nice. It would have been nice to have one single place that I could trust, that, you know, that would be where I could find the information I needed. So, you know, that's definitely something that I want to work on, and that's going to be a priority this year in my business. but I definitely would like to continue to build out my portfolio of audiobooks. And I think that's something too for me that I would like to continue to do. And what's interesting is this, and this is something, and I'm going to let you guys go, is that I've noticed that recently the audiobooks that I do, it feels different. And what I mean by that is that it's, if you know what I'm talking about, then you'll relate here. But for the longest time, and to be completely transparent with you, it's been up until probably the last 2 months. And I can tell you exactly what's happened. But up until the last 2 months, it was still, and guys, I've done hundreds of audiobooks. It was still awkward. Like, it still felt awkward to me still to try to pump out an audiobook from like the way I talk, trying to figure out, is this the right way to do this? Are people going to like this? Am I saying the stuff correctly? And I think all of that time, it was my worries about the way I sound, the way my voice, the way I hear my voice, the way when I talk, does it feel right? Am I doing it right? Will other people actually like the way I sound or not? I was always so concerned about this. And it's not something that ended after getting a little bit of success. It continues. And it wasn't until I've started talking so much. Now, bear with me. I started talking like, doing videos. So I do the live videos every single day on YouTube. And since I've started doing that, it's like, I don't know. It's like I've talked so much out loud consistently over and over again. And I've done so many voiceovers now. The confidence I suppose I have, or it's not even confidence. I think it's more so just familiarity with my voice, that it has changed my thoughts. And these books I'm working on now, they feel different to me. They're not as a strain to do. Does that make sense? And if I know you can relate, because if you're doing audiobooks, you might still feel that strain, that inner wonder, that inner like push that we're like, okay, I still got to push through this, even though it still feels unnatural and uncomfortable to me. It always felt that way to me, no matter how many books I did. But it wasn't until I started talking ridiculous amounts of talking. Because, I do these videos and then this podcast where I'm just talking and talking and talking, that finally I think I got to the point where it was like, you know what? This is who I am. I'm going to talk like this. If people hire me for this, this is great. If they don't, they don't. But this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be okay with it. And I'm going to have fun with the way I talk and not try to be something different than I am. But it's taken me years to do this. And you know what's interesting too, as I think about these things, I was a teacher, so I talked a lot, but I never talked I was an actor, and we're talking like a lot of talking out loud, but never in the context of performing and performing though, but performing from a natural standpoint. So this is the thing. I think that I've realized that it is different for me to say that talking a lot helps you. Talking out loud a lot helps you if you are talking out loud in the context of not being aware that you are performing for people. So we talk all the time. And we were like, Anthony, that doesn't sound right. I talk all the time. You don't know, man. I talk like crazy. I get it. But I'm talking about in a performance aspect. Every single day I do the 1 o'clock live and I am performing. Yeah, I'm performing as natural as I can, because it is a natural conversation for me. And it's natural because it's improv. Now, yes, I have probably like bullet points that I make, right? That I go over to make sure that I talk about, but it's not scripted. So the more I talk and I'm forced to perform, well, I force myself, but I force myself to perform. And the more I talk, just the sheer number of talking and words that I say, it over and over and over again every single day, it's become so much more comfortable for me to narrate. And part of what I struggled with for the longest time was doing all of this work. And it's funny, right? Because you're like, well, clearly that's dumb, Anthony, because people were hiring you and they hire you to do all this stuff. So clearly they like your voice. But you know what? We all still have, or at least me, maybe I know I'm a weirdo, but maybe I'm just that weirdo that always still wonders deep down inside if I'm good enough. But, the thing is that I definitely want to express to you the challenges that came about audiobooks and this business, and that still creep into my mind. And nothing makes worry and doubt creep in faster than slow down in business, because you think it's you. But here's another thing too. I know that I've not changed the way I'm doing voiceovers. I know you've not changed the way you're doing them. I mean, like, we haven't turned into a different person, so our voices are the same. But there are, so we had to understand that we are a B2B business. So if we are selling to other businesses, which we are, you have to think that if business slows down because of the cyclical nature of the time of year is, right, then we're going to slow down as well. And we'll feel it because the first thing that people do away with, of course, right, is advertising costs, which is dumb because we know that's actually probably the first thing that you should never get rid of. But anyways, the point is that happens. So that's kind of what sparked this whole conversation with audiobooks with you today, and the thought of how I feel about narrating again, and something that might be able to help you is talk. I know this is silly, but I don't care if you've got to do a journal where you're just journaling and you don't even share it with other people, but you speak regularly. I mean, for periods of time. And that's by the way, that's something different too. Even when I taught, the new way of teaching now is lecturing is bad. Right? Lecturing is boring. You don't want to lecture to kids because they're not going to listen to you. So I was always taught and instructed as a teacher to get the kids to be engaged and have them talk. And yes, you talk some and you have to give instructions and things like that and help individually, but standing up and doing speeches and things were not a part of what, you do as a teacher anymore. At least not newer teachers. I mean, you can always go into like an old school teacher's room and they'll lecture the whole entire time, right? But that's not the case. So if I look back on that, that's something too that I have to recognize, that maybe I didn't do as much public speaking all the time as I thought. And that's another thing, public speaking. Putting together a speech is not easy. And people, there's classes. I did take a public speaking course in college, and if I remember, I wasn't that good at it. My wife was way better at it because she was really good at formulating a beginning, middle, and an end and doing all these things. I was just the goofball. So, I would go up and do just goofy things and wing it. And that was always my crazy Achilles heel. But, I took a speech class, but that's another thing too. I mean, I've always wanted to join like the Kiwanis Club or these clubs that, the Toastmasters, these clubs that focus on speech and speaking, public speaking, because I just really want to tell you the difference it has made for me in my voiceover business and being able to be comfortable with my voice and to manipulate it and still feel okay because of the sheer amount of talking that I've done. I don't know how it could sound even more vain than that does, but I hope it makes somewhat sense to you. And I'm laughing because I'm listening to myself saying, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is wild. But the point I'm trying to make to you is that please, know that for me, it has been a challenge inwards. It's been a continuous challenge to feel comfortable doing things like audiobooks and thinking that I was good enough at it. And it hasn't been until I've started talking so much. And by the way, it's talking so much in a manner in which is not scripted. I think that's important, that it's not scripted, but it's trying to focus on staying, in a, and I fail all the time, but trying to focus on staying like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's, so it's actually, maybe it's like active speech. I don't know if I'm going to create a new vocabulary set here, but like speech that is that you're actively trying to be aware of, you're talking, and then you're not even talking around somebody. That's another thing, right? It's the more I talk. So I talk for all of you, of course, but I'm here by myself. I'm here by myself in the microphone in my studio. When I do the lives, all I have is a screen that shows me if you make a comment and a little red light on my camera that I stare at, right? That's what I do. But I know you're there, and I can imagine, me talking to you guys. But the reality is I'm here by myself. And the more I do, the more I talk, the more I try to pour myself into what I'm saying to you, the easier it becomes to pour myself into audiobooks and voiceovers without being fake or without being, not genuine. And so again, I don't know how we got all the way here when I was talking about the state of my business, and I because this is the stuff that's on my mind. And if you're still listening again, thank you. It's been 31 minutes or so now, so I'll go ahead and stop. But I want to say thank you for listening, and I would love to get back into doing more podcasts about the state of where I am and what I'm trying to do. I'm going to, like today, I need to get some, I've got a couple audiobooks that I'm still working on, so I'm going to be working on them. I do have some voiceovers. One thing I did today I want to talk to you guys about real quick is that somebody, and I'm going to tell you this because I think it's important, at least for me. Somebody messaged me on Fiverr and they said, hey, listen, I have 3 scripts. They're under 150 words total. Are you willing to do that for one price? And normally I would always say no at this point in my career. But as I'm looking at my workload, it is a lot lighter than it normally is. So I actually told the person, I said, normally I would say no, but I have I have some free time, so I'm okay to accept it. And they're like, great. But I did mention, but you still need to purchase the commercial rights for it. So they were like, that's perfect. So I think we all still have to be aware of where we are, what's happening. And don't be afraid to make adjustments on the fly to be able to bring in work when it's not happening. I do think there is times to stand on that hill and to die on the hill, definitely. But then there's times where you don't need to die on the hill. It's not the right time to make, we don't need to do Custard's Last Stand when it's really Custard's Last Stand. We don't want to make it your last stand. Okay. And I think you know what I'm saying. So, anywho, thank you guys for listening. And as always, I'd love some feedback. Again, that's the only thing I don't like about Buzzsprout and these is that I can't get feedback. When I was doing the podcast before on SoundCloud, if you guys remember that, it used to be on SoundCloud a while when I first started. I liked it because there was a place for you to leave comments, and you could at least leave comments and stuff. But if you want to message me, you can find me on Facebook and Messenger, or you're in the Facebook group, or email me. All the information will be included in the podcast notes. So thank you guys, as always, for listening. I hope you're having a great week and a great beginning to this year. And if you're not, if you're seeing a decrease in business like I am, let's keep our heads up. Don't give up. This is the time for us to put our heads down and work harder. Okay, that's our business needs it, and our families need it, so we can do it. All right, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday.